Hi guys, I'm here back with more Yakuza. Continuing on. Wait, what am I doing? I forgot what I'm doing.
He hasn't won anything so far, so I don't know what he expects to do at this point, but
Aww.
I'd actually kind of be interested to see
Yeah, I
if he
actually
pulls
don't
it out
know what
there.
I'm
I don't
doing.
necessarily like want that outcome, but just to see
Ah, shit.
exactly like
Fucking thing fucked up.
the house up again.
Crap.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he even says, like,
trying
you
to
know, I'm kind
continue.
of confused about the comp so far. Like, where are the
Alright, what
whispers?
was it?
Where's the,
I'll walk
this
around and
isn't the
kill some
big brother
time
I
now.
know.
Okay.
And I'm like, yes, Ian, that's the problem. He even says, though, he says he doesn't really care about the political maneuvering situation too much because he knows that all he needs to do is get
Why
to a
not?
final 8 or final 9. He says that he is planning on being loyal to Nicole all the way until the end, but he will cut her at the final 3. And then he originally had wanted to get to the end with Nicole and Enzo
Why not?
and cut Nicole for Enzo, but now he feels like, no, Enzo is way too good. Enzo is super underrated. Now instead I'm thinking maybe Memphis. Maybe get to the end with Nicole and Memphis, cut Nicole, take Memphis to the final 2, which would be a very funny final 2 in my opinion. But that's sort of what he's talking about in the morning, and we'll talk about it later. I have no idea how it connects to his talk later in the day.
I was super confused because everything he was saying right here and everything he was saying throughout the days wasn't really lining up. I don't know if he's intentionally trying to, mislead people and think he's trying to go somewhere else, but who knows?
Look, either he had this conversation and then, I don't know, maybe there was another wall yeller, or maybe somebody got to him and told him some things and
Why
changed his
not?
mind.
Let's just
I
do
don't
this.
know, but it seems like his mind has completely shifted by the end of the day.
Ah, fuck, I
Or
fucked
he's
up.
just trying to get other people riled up. We'll talk about it later.
I fucked
Enzo
up.
is going to talk with Cody. Now, this is the real meat of the day for the most part, is that Tyler has been working very hard to place a target on Danny to enact this like mini coup in the power structure so that Cody loses power. And Enzo has been fully convinced. Enzo is fully on board. He wants Danny gone. And Tyler and Enzo agree on this. Cody, though, while he doesn't trust Danny and he thinks that she's sketchy and she does a lot of sketchy things, realizes that Danny trusts him and that Danny is important for him in terms of keeping his place in the power structure. And so while Cody was initially like on board, he had his guard down around Tyler and Enzo, like, yeah, we don't trust Danny. Now he's like, wait a minute, we're not gonna target her though. We were just talking about not trusting her, but Tyler has already taken this ball and run down the field with it. And he's like, oh no, wait, come back. We don't, wait, hold on. This is not what I wanted. And so Enzo's telling Cody, like, she's gotta go, yo. And Kaser's gotta go first, unfortunately. He's after you and Tyler. But after Kaser, yo, it's gotta be Danny. It's gotta be
I
her.
don't have it.
Cody even says, I wish that Kaser was lying low this week because then we could have done something. Not Danny, but maybe something else that would have helped Cody. I tweeted that out and people were like, oh, Cody's such a liar. He's trying to convince us that he doesn't want to take out Cody's not talking to the cameras. Cody's not talking to us. He's talking to Enzo about something that would have been beneficial to his game, which is if Kaser had just been chill, then Cody would have been able to get out of this mess a lot easier.
Yeah, they're having a full-out like venting session in Major Ritual, and it's only like 9:30. And Enzo is basically saying like, Danny, she's starting a lot of stuff, and everyone is on board with her leaving, but he wants to play it safe this week. So not this week, but next week. And Enzo has emphasized like, yo, do it on your own HOH. You get HOH, and then you put her up and we send her out. Cody, he is very much into like the Danny like yo, she's doing her. That's Enzo. That's not Cody. Cody is doing a lot of like, Danny. She's sneaking around. She's talking to a lot of people. But like you said, once they actually start being like, okay, people are on board to get Danny to leave. Like back it up a little bit. We can't do that.
I'm already bored.
But he's not specifically like explicitly saying that to Enzo and Tyler and all that.
So Cody he's feeling that Enzo was talking to Tyler last night, and they were talking about taking Danny out. Cody's starting to feel a little bit left out. This is my read on Cody here. And Cody is kind of like, hold on, Enzo, you're my guy. I'm supposed to have control over who you target next, and I don't want Danny to be the target now. I want Day to be the target next. Then we can deal with Danny. But Day has to go first so that I can maintain my control. And Enzo is not really hearing it. And so Cody's starting to see that, like, Enzo's drifting toward Tyler and doing what Tyler wants. And so Cody decides to tell Enzo, okay, well, I gotta tell you something. There's an alliance that has Memphis, Christmas, Danny, Nicole, Tyler, and myself. And so this is something that Tyler had talked to Cody about the night before, that Tyler wanted to tell Enzo about the committee because it's a nonsense alliance anyway. Cody wants to get ahead of this. Cody wants to be the one that tells Enzo, not Tyler. Cody wants to control the flow of information. This is good stuff, but done in desperation, I think. He's saying to Enzo, this is the alliance. It's a nonsense alliance. We always, it didn't really matter because, we always like, oh, we really like Enzo. But what we should do is that I can tell Tyler that we should both tell you about the alliance so that Tyler feels included, Tyler feels reeled in. And the real purpose of this is for Enzo to feel like Cody is his guy and that they're playing Tyler. But Enzo is kind of just like still focused on the Danny thing and clearly not super pleased about this Memphis alliance to begin with.
Yeah. Cody is telling Enzo this to build that trust so that they can work together. After that, he's like,
can we like continue on the main story already?
We gotta cut that. We gotta cut that out. We gotta shut that down.
No more of that. No more of that.
No.
Enzo has never really experienced what it's like to not be included or made aware of an alliance in a house before. So, you can see when Cody tells him, you can see on his face, like he is not happy. Like his face drops. Like he's not. And then he plays it cool, but you can tell that he's not happy about it. And I think that like Cody is trying to place this on Tyler as much as he can to keep his bond. But I think Enzo blames Cody more than Tyler because he's always been closer to Cody. So that's not great. Enzo says, all right, yo, this is the it's Danny, then it's Day, then it's Nicole, yo. That's it. And Cody says, yeah, totally, that's a great order. Mine, I think, personally, would be Day, then Danny, then Ian, because, Ian, probably should take out Ian before Nicole, right? And Enzo's like, sure, yo, sure. And Cody says again, we just gotta make sure we lock in Tyler, because he's the third. He's not your second. He's the third. It's us. We gotta lock him in, right? And it's not working. I talked about this last night on my Twitch stream that it's like Cody and Enzo have been in a relationship, and Cody is starting to feel jealous because Enzo has got a wandering eye, and he's looking over at Tyler and he's kind of like, ooh, I like that. I like his hair. And so Cody's getting a little bit jealous. He's kind of like, hey, that Tyler bro, we know that he's not, as good as us, right? Because we've got thing. Man, he sometimes is, you know, remember, he's lied to you before once about this line. I've told you the truth about this line. But he sees that, like, attacking Tyler isn't going to work, and so then he's going to shift later in the day just, like, soften the approach. Like, hey, remember us, and so, remember how, we're going to have tacos, let's laugh, let's play. Remember what made us love each other in the first place? We're just so good together. You don't need anybody else. So that's what Cody's going throughout the day.
Yeah, as we know.
Should I do a side quest?
He's loyal to his bro, so
That's a
if you
quest.
cheat on him, break that trust, he's not going to be happy.
Watch erotic
I don't
videos of all that.
know if Cody was being truthful in his food order.
Yeah, we haven't
He
been
might have
to any of
said
these, have
Danny
we?
next, or
Let's go
Danny
to
after
those. Why
Danny,
not?
just to kind of appease
Yeah, we haven't been to like any of the purple things.
I honestly think that he possibly would rather have Ian out before Danny, because earlier in the day I think he was saying that if I get HOH, I might target Ian or I might backdoor Ian. So
Yeah, it's, you know, I think that, again, like, Cody doesn't trust Danny, and she is a liability to his game, and I do think that he would allow her to leave at some point in the next 3 weeks. He wouldn't target her himself, but we know that Cody's game plan was always, like, if
What is
he
this?
gets power, he's just going to continue to target the outsiders.
Like
he's
a
gonna let
gambling
his
thing?
own alliance target each other, so that he doesn't have to do it.
I'm
But I
good.
think he's perfectly fine letting Danny go. He just needs to make sure that Day is gone first, or at least somebody from that end. Because if that doesn't happen, he's now at the mercy of these other numbers, and he's lost a core piece that props him up in the game. So I think he's willing to let Danny go, and I think that's why he was so open about not trusting her. But basically, by doing that, by letting his guard down, he allowed Tyler to come in and snatch some power away. And he's like, "Hey, whoa, whoa, let's calm down here. No need to get hasty. Let's not break up my whole power strand. That's not what I was intending."
Also, do you think that possibly Enzo was maybe protecting? They both, you know, wouldn't mind seeing Day and Danny go within the next few weeks. But do you think that Enzo was maybe protecting Day because of the fact that I didn't see it, but to me, it didn't seem
Both those mechanics of a shooting game.
Day had revealed to him, Enzo, that she didn't trust Cody the night before.
Yes.
Cody kind of figured that out, like, on his own, but Enzo never specifically.
What a weird thing.
To Cody.
Yes, exactly. So the night before,
Oh,
when Day and Faye were talking to Enzo about backdooring Danny, they talked about, like, is Cody going to be on board with this? Can we trust Cody with this information? Kind of questioning Cody. Then a little bit later today, they'll have a similar conversation where they again say that they don't trust Cody. Enzo agrees with them. He says, "Let's not tell Cody about this." Enzo doesn't tell Cody about it. Yes, definitely, I think Enzo is protecting Day to the extent that he wants Danny gone first, and he knows that if he tells Cody that Day is questioning Cody, then Cody will not allow Danny to go first at all. He doesn't have an excuse to get Danny out first. So I think that he's protecting her to that extent. But then after Danny leaves, I don't think he cares to protect her anymore because he really wants to work with Faye, and he can't really trust her for good reasons.
Wait, how do I shoot?
Talks to Christmas. Enzo says that Kaser is still
Wait,
pushing
how do
hard
I-
for Cody and Tyler, so he needs to go this week, but he did confirm that Danny is super sketchy, so next week, Danny's gotta go, they need to win HOH, Christmas is on board, they're all set.
Planting some anti-Danny seeds. Christmas is saying that, like, we can't let Danny know that we're on to her. And I think they're
Wait, I'm so confused. What am I supposed to be doing right now?
doing that. I feel like personally, I think Christmas should have helped her a lot, especially
Wait, how am I supposed to do
past
this?
week. Confided in her.
Oh, I fucked up.
Oh, we're good with Christmas. We can trust her.
There we go.
Christmas, she has
Yes, I saw that.
There we go. Okay.
Bailey, where it's
I
like
got it.
emotional imagery. So we can't
I fucked up the time though. I didn't like
And
listen so
I
much.
feel like for me, that's kind of clouding her judgment. She's
So,
playing like she's in the final two rather than.
So it's like there's only one good answer.
Well, also, let's face it, you know, Christmas is probably more likely to benefit from a better jury than
Oh, it's like
right?
you charge it up and then you
Christmas
shoot
is in
it.
the end with somebody, that person probably had a better social and strategic game. I'm not, again, I think Christmas has been playing very well, but her ability to win a jury is probably one of her weakest points in the game, and so having, you know, quote unquote emotional jurors, I think is actually more beneficial to her than not.
Bailey in that jury.
Yeah, I mean, if she is Tyler's Casey this season, who got Casey the win? Bailey, right?
And not long ago, she was talking about having
Weird thing, okay.
So
仕事は何を
Dave's
している
have
ん
a
だ
conversation with Danny. This is just a funny
アパレル
little
で
aside,
働いてます
Devon just, you know, love her. She continues to she's on a game level. She goes up to Danny and says, "Hey, I just want to let you know, I had a dream that you were trying to get people to target me." He's like,
今何歳
"What?"
なの
Yeah, it's like when you have a dream about like your significant other cheating on you, and then you wake up and you're mad at them. It's like sort of like that.
あれもうこんな時間
Damn day. You know this is real. You've been told this was real recently. Why would you say anything like this to Danny?
When I first saw this, I saw Dave retelling this to Bailey. And I was like, oh, okay, she's done this. But then I heard that she actually told it to Andy to
You know what? Fuck it. We're fucked this up, so let's just fucking pick the worst
Like
option.
maybe she could have played it off like, you know, how maybe you have a dream about your best friend and they do something horrible to you, but then
そうだな
tell them, hey, I want that. But it was just a dream. It was just a dream.
最高だ
But yeah, this is not just a dream, this is real life.
Here's what you tell people about your dreams, my brother. You go up to the person that you think might be targeting you and you say, "Hey, I had a dream last night about you. It was a dream that we made it to the final two together, and we were hugging, and it was great. It was such a great dream. Oh my god, I feel so
Let's
good
try this
about
again.
you right now.
ま
Like
だ
that's
終わら
what
ね
you tell somebody that you dreamed."
I had a dream that we never backstabbed you. And it was all puppies and unicorns.
えもしもし
Yeah. And then you won unanimously.
So-
Oh man, that part sucked, but oh well.
時間が足りない
Alright, well, Kevin is gonna take
This is
a
the
spot
dumbest
for
fucking minigame, but it's incredible at the same time.
replacement nominee.
どんな体験してる
And
の
Tyler has a conversation with
そんなに嬉しい
and fills her in on more of the Danny stuff. That Danny was like, you know, trying to be like, oh, why are they so comfortable during Enzo's HOH, and did you see them with the luggage, and like all of this stuff that he's been hearing from Danny. He's sick of it. He just wants to
go.
not play that shady game.
I'll go to the more expensive
and
one.
He says that he actually wanted to approach them earlier about Danny. But then the David thing happened. He was worried that like all of the progress that they've made in their relationship had reset.
Oh, it's just the difficulty.
But now
It's
he
just
feels
the
good
difference
again,
in
and he
length.
wants to- he
If that's the
wants
case,
to
then maybe I
approach
shouldn't
about
have done this.
This very much checks out with what Tyler was saying to the cameras that night. That when David did this thing, he was like, "Damn it, I got bigger fish to fry than Day. Like this is totally screwing up my plans." I think he was trying to build this force against Danny last week, but it was delayed a week because of the
Moshi
David
moshi.
thing.
I felt
もしも
そう
し
だな
about this conversation
もう待てないよ
with one another. They talk about one.
耳が遠そう
They Is that and now they have a common enemy to help do that in game.
Damn it.
So, that's looking good. Cody's talking with Tyler and Enzo in the HOH room, and they're
What?
talking about forward, and they kind of get into a little bit of a debate about like who's better to target first, Danny or Day. And Tyler's like, it's gotta be Danny. She's shadier. She's more competition. We gotta take this while we have it. And Cody's like, yeah, but Day has people like Kevin and Bailey. Like we need to take that shot sooner because she doesn't trust us. She's gonna do this stuff. Enzo is very clearly on Tyler's side, which again is just really gonna make Cody more jealous of their relationship. Like, stop looking at his hair. It's not even that good of his hair. And so that's a funny situation.
Wait, is it wanting me to do this one now?
どんな体型を
This
して
one
い
is
るんだ
like,
And Day are gonna talk with Enzo.
I guess it is,
So
right?
when Dave was talking to Tyler, he mentioned that he had told this Danny
最
stuff
近ちょ
to
っと
Enzo.
ブラブラきつくなってきちゃって新しいの買わなくちゃ
so dumb.
私何言ってるんだろもう変なこと聞かないでよ
To Enzo, and he confirms that yes, Danny has said some stuff about you, about
そうだな
all this other stuff. And they talk through the situation. She's the target movie. They don't care anymore. And Enzo says, don't tell Cody too much of this because he is with Danny, and he's gonna be fully on board. Like this is Enzo is seeing what Cody is doing, trying to push back on the Danny stuff, and he's saying, we're gonna go ahead and do this without him. After Danny goes, we can reel him back in. That's fine. That's just you know.
チャームポイントはどこ
Let's
だ
keep him on the outskirts of this.
全部か
And
な
once Danny leaves, we
なん
can
ち
pull
ゃ
him
って
back in. That's I believe truly.
テレクラで知り合ったことを恋愛できる
With Cody when Danny's gone.
いつかついてたい声だな
お前とならできそうだ
Zoning out or something. When
私も
Enzo was saying this,
できたら嬉しいな
this definitely
そう
did
だな
not.
優しくして
The whole plan changed by then. But yeah, Enzo
Oh.
basically sketched out.
Oh, oh, I did hit it.
Danny talking.
モテないモテない
聞いてもいいのかこれを聞いたら怒られるか
No.
教えてもらおうか
Came back up.
Ah, I missed it.
もう
Maybe I don't
甘えてもいい
know off that vibe.
ドキドキしてる
Yes, and he says like,
こういうのも楽しいね
ああ甘えてくれ
甘えちゃうぞ
あれも聞きたいこれも聞きたいどんな顔をしているんだ
What? Come on,
顔
I'm not stupid.
何私のこと知りたい
You
の
trying to outsneak the meow meow?
色っ
That's
ぽい
it.
顔して
That's
る
it,
ねって言わ
yo.
れるよ
Um,
なんで私だって
What a weird fucking thing. This entire thing is really weird.
then talk with Cody afterwards.
It's like, who the fuck ever says I've been told my face is sexy because I'm a grown woman?
いいじゃないかな
Cody's pissed. He's like, what? Like, why would Tyler say the
どこ
lead?
が
Ah, shit.
Is now we're like now we're
熱くなってきちゃった
and now if Day asks Danny about it,
男らしい顔してる
like
ね
now
They hit it.
now
Ah,
it's all on
damn it.
Tyler, it's also on us. And Enzo was like
何それ
telling Cody like excited, and Cody's like man, this is again like they're not on the same page.
熱く
And
な
it's
って
like,
きちゃった
what's the big deal? It's like, yeah,
気になっ
yeah,
ちゃ
yo.
うぞ
It's just a mess, yo. Like he clearly doesn't understand what Cody's saying. So he's just like trying to be like, okay,
私もよく
sure,
見に行く
I'm
よ
with you, or whatever this is.
そうだな
And so, and Cody keeps trying to bait Enzo to be like, oh, Tyler really messed us up here. Like he put us into a corner a little bit. Like, that's kind of
Okay, you know at this point this is fucking fake as shit.
緊張してる
that's it, yo.
優しくして
I'm a nympho.
Top game, yo. This is just
耳が
like
乾き
Enzo's
そう
so clearly not he's not in
緊張してるかもな。
and Cody can see that, and this is when he starts backing up and like, okay, I think I have to take the L here. I think I need to just like kind of reassess and approach with my hands with like some flowers and some chocolates and be like, hey Tyler, hey Enzo, you know,
嘘嘘
if we want
私
to
も
make
会
this
い
an
たい
open
よ
thing, I'm open to it as long as I don't get kicked out.
Yeah, at first he was trying to play the angle of, you know, I see you getting real close.
This definitely isn't
that
like
person over there.
too long or anything.
But you know what? We could all make this work. Let's try to have something all together. Cody says that Tyler pulled a Davon, and if you know anything about how he feels about Davon's game, then that, did I say Cody said Tyler pulled a Davon? If we know anything about how Cody
Why not? Let's do it.
Davon's game,
Let's see how this goes.
then that's like the lowest of the low in his books.
Because basically, again, like,
Oh, we just go straight there.
Tyler has put Cody into this corner, and Cody has no choice but to accept the loss and accept that Danny will be targeted here unless he wants to
Mother's touch.
go to Danny with it, which is also just even worse for his game. He has to just accept that he is now not only in a spot where Danny is going to go home, but he's also implicated in the process and like a part of it. And so if it screws up, it blows back on him just as much as Tyler and everyone else. So like he's just been shoved into this corner, and Tyler has just taken the driver's seat, taken the steering wheel, and Tyler is now in control. And Cody recognizes it, but there's nothing he can do right now. So there's gonna be some more chit chat. Tyler does have a conversation with Cody about this. They don't like fully clear the air, but they're hanging out. They're fine. Again, Cody is kind of like he's giving the chocolates. He's giving the pool table games. So we get to later in the night, and this is when things get weird because Ian has a conversation with Kevin, and Ian's on the hammock, and he says, "All right, you can't tell anybody this, Kevin."
Wait, what?
But the wall
Well,
yeller
this help.
confirmed some things for me. And so, because there's like 50 people in my Twitter mentions, like, haha, see? The wall yeller did do something, Taryn. You were so wrong. Like, yes, because before, the wall yeller hadn't done anything, because the Tyler Danny stuff was completely irrelevant to Cody and Nicole and the,
I'm so
and the wall
wait,
yeller.
what happened?
But now, this is what it looks like when the wall yeller had an impact. This is what it looks like. Somebody says, hey, the wall yeller had an impact on me. So yes, the wall yeller now had an impact. Congratulations. I don't know if it's gonna be a good one, but let's find out. He says the wall yeller confirmed some things for me. Nicole and Cody are running the house. They are the
Yeah,
core
let's just do that.
together,
Let's see what that does.
and that they have set this up so that that they're in multiple alliances, and they're doing what has been done. It's like in season 19, and Janelle and Kaiser are like the Jess and Cody, and this is what's going on. And Kevin's like, oh wow, yeah.
Oh, still don't have anything there.
He says that, and you know, I didn't really see it before, but it confirmed some of my thoughts, and you know, I'm
How do
not
we
gonna go
continue out
after
the story?
because that doesn't make sense for me. But we do need to like do something to shake this up. I think that
Bowling
that
alley.
basically Nicole went to get the girls, and Cody went to get the guys, and I think Derek set this whole thing up. And so this is Ian's theory, and this is why I'm like, it's Twitter, was able to send a message to Ian about all of his conspiracy. Wait a minute, that's exactly what happened, isn't it?
That is what happened, yeah. We got a wall yeller and we get a whole bunch of conspiracies coming out of it. He had some good reads, and then other reads were a little off base. He gives David a lot of credit for being in with like the Cody, Tyler, and Enzo group. He says that Enzo set up like a Brigade 2, and I was laughing.
Oh, no, that's Sartorial. Fuck.
That be the name, Brigade 2. That's probably the name. He also says that Nicole is loosely tied to Cody, which obviously is not the case. But he does say that Cody and Nicole are the head of the Spider, which is also kind of solid. But he has solid and not so solid reads.
Well, so basically, he thinks something that is very not true. That Cody and Nicole are at the center of everything, which is not the case. It was always Cody and Enzo, and then other people were surrounding it. And really, Nicole and Danny are two of the furthest people down the power structure. In the power structure, Tyler is much higher than Nicole or Danny. So, but in part because of the wall yeller, he really feels like and you think that Ian would be smarter than this to take the wall yeller at face value, but I think he feels like, oh, it's only, and he keeps reiterating this, it's only Nicole and Cody. They are the only people in the core. Everyone else is being played, which wasn't even true before yesterday. It's definitely not true now, because now it's Tyler and Enzo, and it's not Cody at all, and it's not Nicole at all. But he thinks that it's only Nicole and Cody, and that they need to do something to shake this up. And so he goes on to talk more about his Derek theory, but the feeds are down. But we'll hear it later from Kevin when he's talking to Davon. So,
quick thing. I'm just wondering if Ian thinks that Nicole is so much like the head of the snake. Nicole and Cody are like the head of the spider. He later talks to Nicole after Nicole asks him.
Well, that was worst case scenario.
For HOA.
Let's give him a free shot.
I'm just confused. Like,
wait, why would you not go closer?
Going to appease Nicole after all of this supposed revelation.
So, again, trying to reconcile Ian's conversation with the cameras at the start of the day and Ian's conversation with Kevin at the end of the day is very difficult, because he basically says things that are polar opposite. He says that he is going to be loyal. He says to the cameras in the beginning of the day, I'm going to stay loyal to Nicole.
Fuck off with that.
I'm going to cut her at the final 3. And then he doesn't care about.
Wow, I'm just like positioning it perfectly for my opponent.
Make it to the final 9. Then
What the
later
fuck?
in the day, he's talking to Kevin, and he says, "We can't sit back and let this happen. I would rather go out now than die a slow death and make it to the final 9." So either, again, maybe there was another lawyer, maybe there was some information that I don't know. Maybe he completely changed his mind, or he's lying to Kevin and he's trying to get Kevin riled up. But in reality, he has no intention of following.
Oh my god, that might fall in anyway.
He just wants Kevin to take some shots, and then he will sit back and you know, like, he will continue to die his slow death himself. But if he can get other people to shake things up for him, then great.
That makes a lot of sense. That's what I was thinking. Like when I said earlier, he might be, you know, doling out misleading information. That's exactly what I was thinking, because these two things do not align at all.
Yes.
I'm really confused by Ian's gameplay in this moment.
So I do feel like that might be it, or again, it might be that he genuinely has just completely changed his mind. either way, like, if he's trying to get Kevin to do this work for him, this is a risky proposition because he's relying on Kevin to not tell anybody this, and to not tell anybody that it came from Ian. The thing that worries me here is that we just saw this, like, brilliantly executed coup to take Cody out of power by Tyler. If this Ian stuff gets out, it might derail that coup. It might actually, like, people were asking me, like, is there any way Danny can get out of this? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, she can win an HOH and save herself for another week, maybe, but, like, her credit in the game has been shot. However, if they have to deal with Ian first, Danny's gonna have more time to get herself back in the good graces of the power structure. And now with Nicole weakened from Ian going home, theoretically, it's like this could actually shake things back into place.
Yeah, and I can very much see, even though in that conversation they were very much like this stays between you and me, I can see Kevin saying that today,
Yosh.
and then Day says something, and then it just gets out.
Yeah, so basically, I think what this is going to do probably is that Ian or Day or Kevin will be caught, and then that gives Cody the ammunition he needs to be like, guys, see, I told you we can't do Danny next. It has to be Day and Bay, or now it has to be Ian, or now it has to be Kevin. And Danny's gonna get off scot-free after all of this, and the power structure's gonna sort of, like, again, re-solidify when it was about to be broken up, which would not be surprising to me because this is what happens when production tries to interfere with the game. It usually only strengthens the main alliance. It wouldn't surprise me if the Wall Yeller did the same thing. So, surprise, surprise. Kevin does then basically immediately first talks to Kaser and tells Kaser some of the theories that Ian just told him. Doesn't say where it came from, it says some of the theories. To Kaser, the guy on the block who has never kept a secret in his life. Then he goes to Devon and he tells her about it. Devon, the other person who can't keep a secret for the life of her.
Oh, fuck off that.
So
That's
he
some
tells
bullshit.
her about this, that Ian called it an octopus structure, which I'm look, as the guy that does these podcasts, I'm not sold on that yet, but
It's not catchy.
yeah, he tells her about Ian's theory, basically, that Nicole and Cody are running the game and that they put all these things.
The one
And she says, well, who
what
told
the
you
fuck?
this? And he says,
Oh, wait, what? I lost?
not gonna tell you.
Wait, how did I lose?
Now, we know how Dave feels about that.
How did I lose?
She does not like that. She's like, wait a minute, you're not gonna tell me? Are you serious?
Whatever.
Do you not trust me? And he refuses to tell her about this, which is good for Ian for now, but when this probably inevitably gets out, it's either gonna fall on him or it's gonna fall on Ian, I imagine, or maybe Day, but it's gonna fall on one of them. So we'll see how long this lasts. But he says that
Either way,
Nicole and Cody,
we're done with this episode. Let's try to find a safe point.
Tyler, and they've got Ian and Enzo as well, and like that's what's going on. That's what's happening. And Day is hard to read in this conversation because, like, Day is a suspicious person. She likes to figure out the puzzle. She's getting new information, a new theory, and so she's trying to. I think she's trying to, like, be like, okay, if this is true, what's gonna happen with all of this? But she's also withholding a lot of information herself. She's lying to Kevin a lot. She's keeping her relationship.
Yeah, one's here.
You can tell that
Next
she's
episode, we're
not
going
really
to continue on. But for now,
bought
thanks for
this
watching.
stuff.